All right, today we're tackling a feeling that, let's be honest, almost every investor knows. It's that pit in your stomach when the market takes a nosedive. We're going to get into exactly why that happens, and more importantly, I'm going to give you two practical, powerful prescriptions to help you build a system that can pretty much cure it.
You know that feeling, right? I mean, you've done all the research, you believe in your strategy, but the second those charts turn red, your heart starts racing and you start questioning everything. It's an incredibly common feeling, and frankly, it's exhausting.
And you know what? That's really the heart of the problem. There's this massive gap between knowing the right thing to do, buy low, sell high, and actually having the emotional stability to pull it off when the pressure is on. So this whole explainer, it's all about bridging that gap.
Okay, so first things first, let's actually diagnose this thing. Because if you don't understand the root cause, there's no way you're going to find the right cure. So when it comes to this kind of anxiety, there are really only two possibilities. Possibility number one, you just have a super low risk tolerance and you're not really cut out for investing. And hey, that's totally okay. But possibility number two, which is way more common, is that you are suited for investing. You just don't have a stable system in place. If that's you, then you're in the right place.
So, if you feel like you belong in the market, but you just can't shake that anxiety, it's a huge sign. It doesn't mean you need to get out. It just means you need to build something. So let's start laying the groundwork for that.
All right, to find the real antidote here, we've got to look at the people who seem totally immune to market panic, the masters. What is it that they have that lets them stay so calm and collected, no matter what's happening?
Well, it all comes down to this idea of a solid core. And this isn't just some vague belief, okay? It's a 100% conviction in a personal investment system that they've built on what are called first principles. These are like the fundamental, unchanging truths. This core, it's like a shield. It protects them from all the market noise, and, just as important, it protects them from envy.
And this is where they get so efficient. See, they have a yardstick, their system, and every single new idea, every hot trend, it gets measured against that stick. If it doesn't fit, it's gone, discarded. They don't waste a second wondering what if or chasing whatever the person next door is doing. Here's the crucial thing to get. Masters aren't trying to win the weekly sprint. They know for a fact that someone else will always be getting rich faster on some hot new thing. They're not focused on that. They're focused on the marathon, on their long-term compound annual growth rate. That is their only benchmark for success.
Okay, so how do we actually start building that master's mindset? Let's get into our first prescription. And this one is all about building discipline by taking your own emotional, fallible self completely out of the equation.
So the first step here is to pick what's called a long-runway asset. All that means is you pick a leader in a growing industry or a dominant player in a monopoly. Things like broad market indexes like the S&P 500, maybe emerging leaders like Bitcoin, or even the old-school giants like ExxonMobil. The key is simply long-term potential.
Once you've picked your asset, the execution is dead simple. You become a robot, an automaton. You just invest on a set schedule, like, say, the first of every single month, and you completely ignore the price. The whole point is to remove decision-making from the process. And look, if you know you can't trust your own willpower, just let technology do the heavy lifting for you. Set up automated buys and let the machine run the show.
All right, let's move on to our second prescription. This one is less about what you buy and a whole lot more about how you think about and organize your money.
The core idea here is to stop looking at your money as one giant stressful pile. Instead, you're going to divide it up into separate buckets or silos. It's kind of like a mental accounting trick that forces your brain to be disciplined. Each bucket gets exactly one job and one set of rules. And that right there gives you immediate mental clarity. And this is a perfect example of how it works in practice. So your salary, maybe that goes into a core growth bucket and it automatically buys an index fund. You get a surprise bonus, boom. That goes straight into the high-risk bucket for your more speculative plays. Maybe earnings from crypto get systematically rotated into something else. The point is, every source of cash has a predetermined destination.
And the psychological impact of doing this? It's huge. By giving every single dollar a job before it even hits your account, you completely remove that constant, nagging question of, what should I do with this money? The decision is already made. That mental load is just gone. All that's left for you to do is execute the plan.
So what happens when you actually put these two prescriptions into practice? Well, you fundamentally change your identity as an investor.
You literally shift from being an anxious gambler,
the person who's swayed by every bit of news and doubts every single move, to becoming a systematic operator. And an operator doesn't react. They execute a plan they've already defined. Their job isn't to guess the future. It's to design the system and then just follow it.
And that, right there, is the ultimate takeaway. You have to free yourself from this impossible burden of trying to be a market timing wizard. That's not your job. Your real job, the one you can actually win at, is to be the architect of your own system and the disciplined operator who runs it.
Now, look, this is not an overnight transformation. Mastery is a long, long game. After a decade of doing this, you'll be a disciplined operator. After 2 decades, you're an experienced system builder. And after 30 years of consistent, unemotional execution, that's when the world starts calling you an investment master.
So, there you have it. 2 very clear prescriptions to treat that investment anxiety. The path from being an anxious gambler to a systematic operator, it's all laid out for you. The only question left is, are you ready to fill that prescription?
Smash like and subscribe.